All right. Well, I am going to turn it over to the one and only Jackie Mitten. Would you put your hands together for Jackie?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pastor Brian. I'm going to invite my esteemed panel up to the stage to join us. I am esteemed. Come on up, guys and ladies and gentlemen. Just going to put that down there where I don't step on it. I've let them pick where they're sitting, which I can tell you I feel like might be a mistake already, but that's okay because we had a little chat before during lunch, and I thought, oh man, these people have great wisdom and are a little wild, and I absolutely love it. And so I want to just introduce everybody here real quickly. To my immediate left, I have Pastors Len and Lori. They are the lead clap away. They've been the lead pastors at Enjoy Life for over 20 years, have 4 kids, 11 grandkids. They had sent out my best friends, Herman and Yulani, and so I'm sorry, and I'm so grateful for them. Brenton Friesen is from Gospel Mission Church. He's an associate pastor and serves under Claude and Micheline Laney, and that's also his in-laws, and so he married in there, and so that's amazing. Him and his wife Valerie have 1 kid together, a 3-year-old, and so that definitely keeps them busy. Next we have Barry Thiessen from City Life Church. Awesome. Him and his wife Natasha have 2 kids. He serves under pastors Justin and Heidi Lewick, who are here as well with us, and serves as an executive pastor on the team, which is fantastic. And finally, and certainly not least, we have Chris and Malin Kraus, Southgate Church, representing big here. They have been in ministry, so Malin has been at Southgate for 30 years, and Chris has been there for 28. They've been lead pastors now for the last 5 years, have 4 kids, and are just doing an amazing job over in Langley. And so I'm so grateful to have these 6 amazing people share some wisdom with all of us today. And so as Pastor Brian mentioned, my name is Jackie. I serve here on staff at the church and have the absolute privilege and honor of serving under my pastors, Brian and Deanne Davis. And so yeah, we're gonna take the next hour and dive into it. And I had thought about doing some icebreakers and things like that. But once I started chatting with these leaders, I thought, you know what, we just have so much to get into. I'm not even gonna, waste time on that because the gold that's gonna come out of the next hour is absolutely incredible. We say here in MFI that healthy leaders build healthy churches and unshakable leaders build unshakable churches. Amen? Amen. So we're gonna dive into it. A lot of what we've been talking about the last 3 sessions, which has it not been incredible listening to the word over the last day and a half here, and we're just going to continue that conversation because as I know it's been mentioned, we unfortunately when leaders fall, it can often be very public, and we can sit there and think, oh man, like again, and man, bad name for the church. But I remember a situation, a season even in our church where we had a tough season, and Pastor Brian had to share with the leaders what was going on. And the thing that he said that I'll never forget, he said it could just as easily be anybody else sitting here telling you a story about me. And I think that kind of reality and humility is what just postures healthy leaders in a place to say, it's never impossible that it might be me, right? And so I want to take some time. We're going to go through some different areas that we want to touch on about how we can make sure that we're unshakable leaders so that the call of God on your life, you don't get taken off track, right? We don't let the enemy win. We don't let the enemy take any ground. We're saying we are called and we are going to run the race that is put before us. Amen? Awesome. All right. Well, I want to actually start with Pastors Len and Lori here, having been lead pastors, having been such amazing pastors here for so long, I wanted to touch on some long-term success and some of the things that you've seen. Looking back on your ministry, what are some of the maybe daily or weekly non-negotiables that you've put in place to really protect the integrity of your lives and the ministry that you carry?
Wow, that's serious.
Yeah, we're diving right in.
I don't remember what I told you when we were chatting, but I'll try to make something up for
Absolutely.
this one.
Yeah.
The things that come to mind are, of course, your relationship with each other and the relationship with the Lord. One of the things we've often said is we can't take ourselves so serious, just to be able to be who we are and be real and deal with real things in our life have helped us to just get through many, many seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we would all say we have to read our Bibles. We do in the morning. We do that before we even get out of bed. That's a given. But for us, I think long term has been having fun. Like if your kids can see you having fun in your marriage and in church, and we called our church Enjoy Life Church for a reason. That's actually what we want to do. We said if we don't have fun anymore, we got to shut the door or change the name. So it's hanging there for us to see. We have to be enjoying life. But I don't know, I just feel in ministry, we take ourselves way too seriously sometimes. Yeah. We're like so serious about this issue and that and this person and this thing that's like, forget it. Like, let's go have a picnic. Let's have fun. Let's just enjoy our lives, because those problems will always be there. And your kids won't. They will grow up one day, and what will be their picture of what ministry is? Was it great? Was it fun? Did you see people's lives change? But did you, as a family, thrive during the time that you were ministering?
That's awesome.
Yeah, she just reminded me of one really good thing. Sorry. But just that whole idea of enjoying life and not taking yourself so serious. But it's like, looking back, this is a picture I have in my mind, and sorry if it doesn't fit too well, but when people are just pouring out their problems and pouring out their life, many times inside I'll be saying, do you realize how little I care about that? But it's like, I'm not going to take that stuff on. Like, you are a freak, and that's okay. And God loves you, and I love you, and man, God's got a good plan for you, and I can share the good things of God, but I'm not taking that onto my life. I got my own stuff, so I don't know if that's helpful or not, but it's definitely helped me to be in ministry for a long time.
It gives the rest of us permission to have our outside thoughts come out as well. So inside thoughts coming out. That's awesome. That's all. Anybody else want to speak into that one? Barry?
Tell us what you really think.
We know what we have permission to say now, so this is perfect.
Sky's the limit.
No, I mean, I think for me personally, we talked. I think that principle. I think we see it in Ezekiel, and I think in Leviticus too, where 20:27 maybe, where it talks about passing under the rod. And I know it's cliche, but I mean, prayer and the disciplines of spending daily time with God, I think, has been really important for me. And the principles that sheep at the end of every night would come and pass under the rod of the shepherd, and he would comb through the wool and remove any burrs, or if there had been flies in the nose. I think it's in Shepherd looks at Psalm 23. Philip Keller talks about it and talks about how the shepherd would take individual care of each sheep. And I think for me, it's just so important every day to place myself before the Lord and even just ask myself, okay, what have I allowed to either get into me or onto me as an individual, and ask the Lord to just comb through every area of my life, and Lord, examine me. Like I think Brian said it this morning, search me, know me, try every anxious thought, see if there be anything wicked or offensive in me, and Lord, lead me in the way everlasting. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that imagery that you shared of just, the shepherd just putting his hand through the wool and just checking every piece, right? And how we have to posture ourselves in that way to allow the Lord to check all those areas of our lives with such a was such an amazing imagery of that. And so, yeah, that's great. Brenton, did you have anything you wanted to add on that? Maybe even in regards to how some of our private decisions shape kind of the public integrity as well?
Yeah, I would honestly say, like, I've been so blessed with, being under the leadership of Pastor Claude, and you could just tell he, when it comes to private life and public life, I get the inside scoop, right? And so there's a lot more shenanigans that happen in the house when we're together, but he's the same guy, so that's been a really big blessing for me to see that. Yes, there's certain boundaries you put between your personal life and ministry life, but we'd probably all agree the lines blur a little bit, right? And so you have to have wisdom, and also I love what Frank taught about the vase, right? And working on the vase. And what I've seen through his example is he's the same person. And when you're the same person, it comes with a level of peace, right? You don't have to act or put on ministry mode. Again, you'll be maybe more loose in a family setting, obviously, than on stage. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But just being the same person has really blessed me. A quote that I really appreciate, or a practice that Dallas Willard talks about too, is the practice of secrecy. And it's interesting. It's to abstain from causing our good deeds and qualities to be known. And this is what he says. To help us loose or tame the hunger for fame, justification, or just the mere attention of others, we will often need the help of grace. But as we practice this discipline, we will learn to love and be unknown, and even to accept misunderstanding without the loss of our peace, our joy, or purpose. Few things are more important in stabilizing our walk of faith than this discipline. In the practice of secrecy, we experience a continual relationship with God, independent of the opinions of others. And so, for me, it's practicing that, not letting my righteousness being known all the time, just doing those little things. Because when you have a public ministry, you also just want to be a servant of God. Right? And you never stop being a servant of God, but sometimes those lines start being weird, and to be honest, I'll speak and I'll look for those people in my church that will give me the most encouraging words, and then I'll realize I just wanted to be built up, but it was actually in an unhealthy way.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a certain Sunday where I just need it, and then it's healthy, but often I think there's a striving for fame and attention that's not healthy, and so that has helped me just to be like, no, I want to be a vase. I don't want to just work on my canvas.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that in just what you're sharing there, because sometimes, we can look at these things and think, okay, what are the good practice that we have, but like by default, the opposite can be kind of the red flags for us as well, right? When you're recognizing, okay, maybe I am just doing that for the accolades and the recognition. And so I want to pose this question out to the team, but maybe Chris or Malin want to, take it, yeah, straight to Malin, want to kick us off about what are some of the warning signs or red flags that we as leaders should never ignore, either in our own lives or in those that we are leading and are around us?
That's a great question. Warning signs. Oh man, yeah. I don't know how this ties into anything that you're saying. I'm just gonna say it. I have hope for the future of young leaders, because I feel like when it comes to issues of integrity, secrecy, things that are done in the secret place, I think that those places are becoming less and less in the digital world that we live in. And as I look at, specifically the men in ministry that are falling, a lot of it is a result of things that had been done years ago in secret that are now becoming brought to light. And I think that the young people, and I am so full of hope for the young people, they're living a very public life, and so they don't have as many of those secret places that had been in the past. And so that gives me hope. Some of the things that are non-negotiables, oh my gosh. I think it was Claude that said it this morning, confession. Was it you that talked about confession? I think that that's something that, and I'll just make a total blanket statement, we as the charismatic church, we don't really value and teach a lot on. And I think it's actually something that's super important. I talk a lot about it in our small group, the practice of confession, regular confession to one another. We think, oh, that's a Catholic thing and we don't need to do that. But the Bible actually talks a lot about it. And so I think confession is really important. Obviously, don't be like me, who would confess everything to random people. That gets you into trouble. So having those people that you trust and are wise enough to hear what you're saying and not hold it over you, I would say. Other things, what did I write down here? Guardrails around opposite sex relationships I think is really, really important. Who do you spend time with? What does that look like? Even the subtle, well, it's just a text message between me and a woman. I'm probably like so scared of those things happening. Like my wife gets involved in conversations that I have with women. She's like, why am I in this text message? I'm like, because I just don't want to be texting that person about that topic. And she's like, it's got nothing to do with anything other than you just asked a question. So I think that's a guardrail that I have up around myself. Maybe it's out of my own fear. I would say keeping short accounts of when somebody offends you. Like, I think we often carry offense so deeply. And I think that can get us into a lot of trouble. So anyways, I got a bunch of other things, but I think the Ruttons have lots to say. Oh, Malin actually has something to say too. And hey, just so you know, sound guy, this is mic 4, so feel free to just cut this at any time you like.
I agree.
Yes.
Cut his mic. I'm just kidding. I think this just is a little bit of a combo of the success and then maybe a little bit what you're talking about, because I don't actually really know totally what question I'm answering. Sorry. But as you guys were talking, I just remember a long time ago being at a youth conference, and one of the pastor's wife she was speaking, and she said, you know what, you want to make sure that you force yourself to be friends with your staff and get close so you can be transparent. And we talk about those guardrails and those things, and I was like, they need to know you not just as a pastor on the stage or leading worship or doing children's ministry. And I can say some of the red flags have been when we have a hard time pushing and pressing into those friendships and they're not happening. Is like, why can we not be transparent back and forth? Because they're going to see things in you that you can't see yourself. And I just think that's really important, is like pursue those staff relationships and don't leave little ones out here or there. We're big on that, like having, people at our table, and we're probably on the over transparent, but I think there's beauty in that. But I want our staff to participate in that, and the other pastors in our church to participate in that with us so that they can see things that we don't see. And if there's any pushback in those relationships, I've maybe failed to see that is a red flag.
Wow, that's good. That's great. Could anybody? Barry, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Please.
It's kind of awkward to answer the question because I don't want my boss to think that I'm not doing good right now. So I'm doing great, Pastor Justin. All right. But I think maybe I think a big red flag that I would see would be if I find myself justifying certain behavior, or even saying stuff like, man, I can handle it. I think that's a massive, massive red flag to me. And I think to me, I feel like a sense of, like, fear is not the right word. I think maybe the sobriety with which to approach ministry. I don't want to be the reason that somebody's got to process a story. Yeah. I don't want to be the reason that someone's spending time in their prayer closet, like struggling through my failure. And so I think even what Chris said about keeping short accounts, like if I find myself saying like, it's not that big of a deal, that's a pretty big deal, Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. And I think, you hear it said often, right? You can only get into somebody's head as much as you're in their heart, and that comes from relationship and creating that level of vulnerability. Now, when you're on staff at a church, you default put yourself into position to be spoken into. That is part of the job description, and that's an important part. But would anybody be able to even speak into a little bit about what Malin shared there about creating those relationships? Like, how practically, what action steps can we give people to say, hey, this is how I go about building strong relationships with my staff or key leaders, maybe your eldership team if you're in a lead position within your churches?
Yeah, I just invite them to come and bask in my glow. And no, I heard a good quote. A good quote was, what you don't allow God to transform in your life, you will transfer
Yes.
to others, to the church, to your family, and so on. And so I always tell Lori she can go for counseling anytime she needs it, but no, we have had some good counsel from good people, and one of my things was I grew up in an alcoholic home, so you fill in this form with our counselor, about your life, and as soon as he sees alcohol, the first three things is, you've grown up in chaos and you've learned to perfect, perform, and please, and if you don't deal with your own stuff, you will transfer it. You will. It just comes out of who you are. You can preach measles, but you have the mumps, all that stuff. And so I think just, like she said, being open with people, they respond openly to you. And doesn't mean we're all buddies and we're all friends, but it just opens up relationships. And, we were in missions for 30 years and doing these pastor thing, and every one that failed, I would say 99.99%, it's a breakdown in relationships, either in marriage or people you're working with and ministering with. So red flags for me is when you aren't real and you're not who you are. And we've always, sorry, I'm going too long, but always have preached, walk with God and enjoy the walk. And if it isn't enjoyable anymore and it's work and tiring, and then you got to look like what we've been hearing this week and just, why am I not enjoying this anymore? Like, it's a privilege. And you lose that, then you got to get some help and ask people around.
Yeah, that's great.
Feels right that you go after your husband. I feel like that's the right thing to do. A quick thing was, it's okay to not be okay. And I'm so thankful for our eldership. There's been times where we've sat there, Chris has cried in front of our eldership saying, I'm not doing okay right now. Like, I'm struggling, or I'm just starting to deal with, like, when my mom passed away, like, there's points where they knew exactly where we were at. We brought them into our lives, and it sucked telling them because we just felt weak. And you don't want to feel weak because you're supposed to be strong and you're leading people and you're doing worship and everything is good, like, because God is good, but we're feeling a lot right now. And yeah, you have to be okay to cry in front of people. You have to be okay to not be okay and to be honest about.
Yeah, something we've always said over the years in relationship to people you work with is, we are great as Christians at functioning. We'll plan the event, we'll do the thing, but we've always said you want to have friendship before function. If you don't have that friendship, you're just all a bunch of little worker bees working for Jesus, and that's where relationships break down, and suddenly all you're doing is working for Jesus, and you're not enjoying that walk. You want to walk and do ministry with friends, with people you love, that you have relationship with. So friendship before function, even after you function, you still want to be friends. You've done this great event and everybody's frazzled and tired and you're kind of mad at each other and this guy didn't do what he was supposed to do. But if there's that underlying thread of friendship, I think you can walk through a lot of things and come out still liking each other on the other side, which is kind of the point.
Yeah, and like just trying to provide care for staff, I've realized like a meal gets you really far. If you're just in the church, you don't realize it even, but you become business partners, right? And over a meal, the conversation gets way further than it would, more of a tight ministry setting, and then that sets the table for what kind of relationship you want to have with them, which is, it's okay not to be okay. We can talk, we can eat, we can just do life together, not just functioning in ministry together.
That's awesome. And I think really in even sharing that, so much of it, more so, Lori, on what you were sharing, is we can get so kind of caught up in the emotional side of things, or like the spiritual side, I would say, more in doing ministry and just, like you said, doing events. But it's so important to make sure that we maintain like an emotionally healthy posture, both, and that can look at many different ways. I know Pastor Dave shared some in his session this morning of different things, and so would you guys be able to just share some examples of maybe some practices that you have in your personal life to stay both spiritually but also emotionally or physically healthy in your own?
Yeah, when it comes to physical health, I think that there is only one person that could talk about that, and that's Barry. So we're going to ask him what he does to look the way that he does. Barry?
All right, so I like to work out, guys. All right, it's fine. To seriously answer the question, I think all right, I do like to work out. It's a habit I have. All right, guys, it's fine. I think to understand what the difference is between what's a spiritual issue and what's for lack of a better word, a soul issue. And maybe I hope this isn't sacrilegious to say in a room of pastors, but I think sometimes we think that 4 hours of prayer is going to solve an issue, and maybe a 3-hour round of golf is actually going to solve my problem.
Amen.
I think that sometimes, I think that sometimes I just got to go into the prayer closet and pray for 8 hours, and this is just going to break off of me, and maybe I'd be actually better served to just go watch a hockey game with my dad,
And sex is good,
and we can
too.
all gang up and just say that what's that?
No, I said sex is good, too.
Hey, all right. It's awesome. It is awesome, too. I got 2 kids. Watch a hockey game, not the Leafs, though. We can all unite and hate the Leafs. But yeah, I think just some of those daily rhythms for me of being able to just have a hobby, I think is just a massive thing. Whether that's working out, having sex, or playing golf, whatever it is. We know where you guys are at, so you guys are doing unbelievable.
I got in a lot of trouble at church because I said the last thing I can do on my deathbed is just reach up and grab my wife's breast. And that offended many people. But I don't care.
Jackie,
I'm actually
Jackie,
at
you
a
got to
bit of a
control
loss at
this.
point. I don't even know how I'm going to bring this back.
Get this
But-
back. Get this back, Jackie. Come on. Do your job.
It's a love that I look for in life. You know what I mean? It's a love I'm striving for. This is amazing. We are going to get into that, Len, so I want you to put a bookmark in that section because we are going to touch base on marital well-being, and so I want you to bookmark some of those thoughts and hang on to them for me. Because I think here's the thing, everybody. We're laughing and it's important, but here's the reality. If your marriage isn't doing good, your ministry is probably not doing good either. And if it is, I would say that's even a bigger red flag, because that means you're pouring all of your time, effort, and energy into your ministry to look good. And if your marriage at home is falling apart, that is not good. That's not kingdom-minded building. And so we are gonna touch on some of that. Keep your hands to yourself, though, Len. And I do want to talk a little bit about Sabbath real quick before we move on, but I'm just going to throw this out here because my youth pastor and I, Daniel, we have pitched the idea of having a gym at our office here a number of times. We're trying, we're expanding. It's like, hey, if we just snuck a gym into a corner. But Barry, could you actually just a practical piece of how you're able to get a workout in and things like that?
Oh man, here we go.
I had to.
Hey, you know what? I know Southgate's given 8-week vacations every year. All right, so if anyone's looking for a job, it's 9. No, for real. We have a private school at the church, and so every lunch hour I'll usually go up and get a quick workout in, and get the endorphins going, and then it gives me a little bit of energy in the afternoon. So I mean, to me, honestly, it's a great way to just reset my mind too. You guys would know you're having difficult meetings in the mornings, and you got stuff that you're looking forward to in the afternoon. And so I think, just personally for me, I like to get up there, whether it's have a run, or are you guys making fun of me over here?
No, she has Tourette's.
Okay, yeah. You know what? just gonna. Chris and I were gonna sit together, and we were forbidden. So, but that is that. Chris just keeps making fun of me for working out over here, so it's great. But yeah, I like to do
I
that.
have. But honestly, yeah, I wish I looked like Barry. I think honestly though, I think that the issue of health, like physical health, is really, really, really important, especially within MFI where food is really important to us, and we eat a lot of it. I would love to see us start incorporating some like afternoon walks as a team. Maybe after conference, we could walk around Abbotsford together. But I do think that there's something important about keeping ourselves physically fit, not for appearance sake, but for longevity's sake.
Yeah, that's good.
I think if, and again, I forget, there's a lot, 3 sessions, that's a lot of sessions for me. There's been 3 sessions, somebody talked about it. Was it Claude again? Yeah, I just keep quoting you. I just think it's important, like if we want to be doing ministry for a long time, it's really hard to do it when we're 6 feet under the ground. And or if we can't get out of bed. So I think it is important to at least get the heart going and stay physically healthy. And Barry is willing to do private training sessions.
When we changed our diet about 7 or 8 years ago, the question was, what's your why? Like you have to have what's your why? And so whether it's diet or exercise or longevity, you want to be here. What's your why? Why? Choose your hard. So, one doctor put it. Being fit is hard, but being unfit is hard. Healthy is hard, unhealthy is hard. Choose your hard. You want to be here for grandkids? You want to be here for 50 years in ministry? Choose your hard.
That's awesome. And I think just as important as making sure that we're, eating healthy, maintaining physical fitness and trying to sleep as much as humanly possible, is also, and it's biblical, the practice of the Sabbath, right? The Lord demonstrated this for us, and so it's important that we apply that in our own lives. And so I'm curious, what does Sabbath, time off, rest look like to you? Because I think we can all agree it plays a really important part in what longevity looks like. And so I'd love to hear some thoughts from you guys on that one.
Okay. I've been selected to answer this one. I think Sabbath to me is making sure, you're turning notifications off. I know at one point I had to get rid of the email on my church email on my phone. You look at that and all of a sudden you're working, and I have a wife who's really good at calling me out on when I'm working during a Sabbath, or I get home from work and my mind is half at home and half working. Just making sure that, when you have a family, you need to be present with them, right? So, and honestly, when you have a good relationship with your family, why wouldn't you want, can I say I like being more at home with my family than working at church? So it's more fun to be present with my family, and that encourages me. Now I have a 3-year-old who gets really mad at me if I'm working all the time and leaving, and so to be present with her is just, it's when you pour into your home life, then you realize, man, that's it's so refreshing. And you can't, you even see it in the way land works. You have to give it a break, right? Or else the nutrients of the soil are gone. So if you're not doing the same, then you're going against God's nature who rested and gave us that because we need it.
So good. Mm-hmm. You actually shared something very interesting with me. We chatted a bit about sabbaticals and what that can look like in different seasons. But you actually had a really interesting point that I'd love it if you kind of dived into. You actually told me that you had a statistic that most pastors quit after taking a sabbatical.
Yeah.
Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I heard it from Carey Nieuwhof that it's most, when a pastor will quit, it's most likely after a sabbatical. And he was saying that you have to find, because if you are not going at a sustainable pace when you're working, then you have a sabbatical and you actually rest, and then you pick up that mantle which has a weight, like Frank was talking about. And if you don't learn to handle that weight properly, when you put it back on, you'll be like, okay, I know what it feels like when it's off. I know what it feels like when it's on. It's too heavy when it's on, so I'm going to quit, right? And so I guess the big thing that even having a sabbatical for me realized is that it won't save you. You have to find a sustainable pace. and know what that looks like. It takes a lot of wisdom, and honestly, every season is different. Some seasons I feel like I'm going 120 and the engine is not super hot, and other seasons is like, now I have to, shift down a little bit and relax. We can't always say, yeah, we're busy. And sometimes you can give it a push, but then also peeling it back and finding that sustainable pace and not waiting for a week of holidays, where if you arrive at a week of holidays and you're like, I made it, then man, you're gonna need a lot of holidays eventually, right? So it's finding what does an enjoyable pace look like, where I'm working hard, but I'm being wise and it's sustainable. Yeah.
That's good. I think that sustainable pace piece is so important, because it's really important that we can be real, as who we are within our homes and safe places with people. But the difference between what I know I look like at a sustainable pace versus not is very different. And I was just having a conversation with a friend yesterday where we were talking about their kids and what it means to have a call of ministry on your life. And when your kids witness you in an unsustainable pace, they can bear witness to a reality of a call that could really be like, you know what, I don't think I want that. Because in our homes, we represent what it means to be in ministry to our kids as well. And so that was actually really, really eye-opening to me is that, to those that are closely around us, it's so important that we represent a healthy model of what God has called us to. Because we are, we say it all the time, we're standing on the shoulders of those who have gone before us, and we want the next generation to be leading our churches, amen? And so we got to be showing them what it looks like to do that well and do it healthy, because if they don't see that modeled well, they're going to say, I'm not signing up for that, right? Because they're going to see that before they understand the call that God's put them in. And so I was wondering if anybody else had anything else to share on.
Yeah, I would say with the Sabbath part, the challenge with Sabbath is it requires intentionality and planning. It doesn't just happen. You can't just read, John Mark Comer's book, Ruthless Elimination, or hurry and be like, sweet, it's going to happen for me now. You actually have got to put into play certain things. I think for us, for me, I won't speak for Malin, one of the most profound moments was when I just felt like the Lord said, Chris, Jesus died for the church, you don't need to. And it gave me permission to be like, oh, okay, so it doesn't all fall on me. And so when I do step back and do enjoy Sabbath, the church is going to be okay. And so for Melinda and I, practically, I mean, it took us many years of marriage to get this, to a place where we're, I think we're pretty happy, and it changes with seasons, sure. But we just decided that Sunday night we would, in the afternoon, get our kids to clean the house for us, because they're of age now where they can do that well. We go and rest upstairs, and then we come down to a clean home, and then we enjoy. We start Sabbath. I'm not lying. And they're here to yes, they are like yes. Anyways, but we start Sabbath on Sunday night because I take Mondays off, or we take Mondays off. And for us, Sabbath is just a day where we just enjoy one another. We enjoy, what God has given us. If it's working out in the garden, I don't really enjoy that, but she does, and so I endure it. But it's Sabbath for us is not so much about what we can't do, and it's more about what do we get to do. And Monday to Sunday morning, Tuesday to Sunday morning is really all about what needs to happen, not about what do I want to do. And so for us, it's those hours. And some Mondays aren't a Sabbath, and we don't feel like God is gonna reject us. Now, what I will say is, what's interesting is we do see the pendulum swinging quite a bit right now from the older generation, and that's none of you here. It would be the generation before them, even, where it was all about ministry, like church, like if you're a pastor, it's your family is secondary to the call. I'm called to do this, and so I'm doing it. And And I don't know if there was much rest had. Now we're seeing the pendulum swing the other way, where it's just like we should only be working 20 hours a week and working a 2-day work week because, you know, we just need to rest and me time and all of these other things that are talked about. And so I'm hopeful that we're going to find this happy medium where we can work hard but also enjoy a day of rest. And I think that that's the important thing is God worked for 6 days and then rested for 1. And so even John Mark Comer would say he apologized to a group of us pastors for writing the book that he did because he feels like it was weaponized against the church. Like John Mark Comer in Restless Elimination of Hurry said, I don't need to serve as much because I need more personal time. And he's like, that's not what I was trying to encourage. I was just trying to encourage people that it's important to rest. But it also means that we work hard. So anyways, intentionality is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Just looking back when our kids were young and they're in the house and you just want to watch attitude, because rather than like, okay, we have to go to church and we have to do this. At one stage it was Sunday nights, we had services in Pretoria, South Africa, and oh, we have homework and there's a show on TV. And our attitude was, you don't have to come to church, you get to come to church. And they just, something clicked, like, and it was actually funny. It was years and years later, we went back to that church in Pretoria, and all the volunteers had big yellow shirts on with hashtag, we get to serve. So that attitude even got into the church. But just the attitude that you have, like, it's such a privilege to be able to do this for God. Like, there's other families that don't get to do this. Like, we get to serve God with joy, and at the same time, there's heavy things you carry. So I think with your kids, you do share some of the burdens, the heaviness with them, but they also then have to share in the joys. You have to be able to, like, take off on a Tuesday and go do something fun. Like, you actually are in control of your schedule as a pastor. You are in control. So if you're just sitting in an office all day, bored to tears, sorry, but that's your fault. Like, get out of there and go take some time off and spend time with your kids. Like, you get to set your schedule. It's the best job in the world. Like, I always look at these guys like they're all depressed and sad and sitting in an office. I'm like, there's nobody to blame but you. You've created this life. You have to live it now. So get out of that office. Nobody cares if you're in there, and if they do, well, that's on them. It's not on you. Go have fun with your kids. We have an acreage that we go to his brother's. We have a fifth wheel there. There's a boat there. We take the grandkids there. Like, we can do that on a Wednesday afternoon. Who cares? We can go anytime we want, because probably the evenings are full. You're with people in the evenings. And like we heard, like, other people don't know that. They're just like, oh, they're off having fun. I hope we are. I hope our life is so magnetic and looks so exciting that everybody wants to do what we're doing. We should be a magnet to have people looking at us saying, how do I get their life? Like, why are they having so much fun? Why are their kids in a healthy place? Why are they enjoying life? Because of the life we live that should be pleasing to God by being healthy. And taking time for yourself is a healthy thing to do.
I would just add to that. It's, Laurie already alluded to it, but, you know, we were involved in the most amazing ministries in Africa, and hundreds of thousands in meetings, and doing that drama, Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames, and thousands responding, and this and that, and planted churches there. We're part of the church that sent us back to Canada. It's in the thousands, and we can talk about all these things, but at the end of the day, who's left? It's my wife and my children and my grandchildren. And so for me, Sabbath is that. Yeah. Finding rhythm in life with the people that are actually really matter. You know, not that the church doesn't matter. You matter, but not as much as this.
Of course. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Well, and on that, I think we've heard it pretty consistently through everybody's, Sabbath and rest and things like that, the importance of family and your marriage and things like that. So, Len, we're back to the bookmark, so get ready. I'm going to rein them in a little. But, like I said earlier, like, marital well-being is such an important part. And so I'd love to hear, actually, Brenton, I'm going to have you kick this off because I know your wife is real busy raising a 3-year-old right now, but also supporting you in your calling. And so how do you kind of protect Valerie from maybe becoming secondary to your calling? What does that kind of look like in your home?
Yeah. So she grew up in the ministry world, right? So I think that was a huge blessing because she understands that being a pastor doesn't mean you work a 9-to-5 job. So that has brought a lot of peace, I think, in that place. So I don't know. The way I see it is that I only really qualify for church leadership because there's part of a managing of a household that's there, right? If you don't manage your house well, how can you manage church well? So if I've said yes to 2 brides, then I have to, what does wisdom look like to do that, right? So I don't know, we often talk, we have conversation about, okay, this week was busy and I didn't have a lot of time for you. Next week, I want to take a bit more time. And you're often kind of just tweaking, and yeah, it's been a bit, now that Eliane is 3. It was a bit of a strain. I remember one moment just of frustration, like just wondering, how do I do these both really well, right? And that's still probably my question, right? How do I do these both really well? And if I'm constantly talking with Valerie, talking with Claude, and he's protecting my time at home too, then I'm going to end up, if I'm asking that question genuinely, I'll end up in the right place and just making little tweaks along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And I'd actually like to ask Malin, because I know Pastor Dave mentioned it in his session, but that you and Chris had started marriage counseling. And for those who maybe aren't so good with math, 5 years ago when they started leading Southgate Church happened to be during COVID, which is just a great time to transition a church. And so would you just, I think it would be really helpful for everyone here just to hear a little bit of what that looks like. What made you make that decision, and what does that kind of look like on an ongoing basis?
Great question. Yeah, who transitions a church when COVID's happening? You're like, did they leave because of us or because of this or because of, I don't know. Anyway, so that forced me into counseling. Just kidding. Well, actually not kidding. It's true. It's true. Tried to make a joke and I couldn't. Anyways, but so I actually started on my own counseling. And not too far in, I just said to Chris, I'm like, we really need to do counseling. Can you look into it for us? I said, I'm really enjoying this, but I actually would prefer, we talk our relationship is like, Chris calls me like 6,000 times a day. It's like, hey, I'm just blank. I'm like, cool. Okay, click. Next. Hey, whatever. So we're constantly talking all the time. We are in the office also together. So we actually spend a lot of time together. We know each other well. We have beautiful marriage, but again, right away, there was this knowing of like, we need to protect what we have, and we started feeling the pressures of people and that weight and that mantle and all those things. And so we found a counselor, and actually it was a really beautiful moment. Chris, it's a long story-ish, but it was a unexpected meeting, and this counselor was in his barber shop and was like, I felt like I had to be here today. And Chris was like, I'm looking for a counselor. Long story short, Christian guy and spirit-filled Christian guy. And so actually in our counseling sessions, often at the end of them, he's like, okay, this counseling's over. I just have this word for you guys this week. And he'll pray with us, and it's really beautiful. But for us, it was that protection piece to take a time. And at the beginning, it was for him to get to know us, and us even just setting aside an hour to face one another and talk to each other and leave space to know each other in a different way outside of what needs to be picked up, what needs to be done at church. And yes, we talk all the time, but we had meaningful, like, I want to talk about this. We've never really talked about this in a long time. I want to dive into this. And we turn and face each other. And we have this Christian counselor who is drawing things out of us. And it has helped us even prepare for what we didn't know was coming. And I just, whomp. You don't know what's ahead of you. And if you're not prepared for it, it's even that much harder. And so we could sit there and my mom dies and I can just be like, he's like, Chris, how does that make you feel? You're trying to care for your mom. Then no joke, 6 weeks later, or 6 months later, his dad dies. It's like, Malin, trying to support each other, but to have a space that someone could pull things out of us that we couldn't pull out of ourselves. And nothing was per se wrong. But now it's our protection. Like, we actually need it and know that it needs to always be part of our lives. And we would love to see that for others. And it doesn't mean it has to be every week. It could be every 4 months. It could be once a year. But to have that time where you turn, you face, and you talk real life. And you might have more into that. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say for us, counseling has been really, really important. And it's helped us realize that as pastors, we're not counselors. And that's okay. We've stopped calling it marriage counseling when we sit with couples who are engaged, because we are not registered. We are not professional counselors. We're pastors, and we love people, and we actually send our couples to marriage counseling before we'll marry them, because it's really important for them to get that professional help. So for Melinda and I, yeah, it's been really, really important. As a guy, I mean, Melinda was very kind in how she described the situation. It was more, Chris, we need to find a counselor. And then finally she said, you know what, forget you. I'm going to go to counseling since you're not doing anything about it. She left that part out. And then I started feeling really guilty, and I was like, I better find a counselor for the two of us. And I didn't do a good job of that. The Lord did it for me. But honestly, for us, yes, our counselor, he's a really important person in our marriage. He's like the third person in our marriage, which sounds super weird. We're not recording this, are we? That's weird. But he, as a guy, I was super afraid to go into these sessions where I was going to have to like feel like I'm the bad guy and I'm the problem, because the truth is I am the problem in our marriage most of the time. But having somebody who's able to, gently come alongside and help me realize that. And, like even this morning, it was great. I'm learning things about myself. So this morning we're on the way here. Melinda says to me, hey, let's just chat about this panel that's going to happen this afternoon. And I was like, oh no. And she starts laying out some rules. And I like shut down right away. I was just like, do not try to silence me. I will say what I want to say. I didn't say that. I thought it. And you cut the mic. Yes.
Hey, Steve coming in.
Well done. But what I learned in counseling, what I learned through my counseling, and as I was reflecting on this morning, that was great. What I was reflecting on this morning is my response wasn't because she was doing anything wrong. It was because I had some undealt things that I'm dealing with. One of the most common phrases I heard growing up was, stop talking. Stop talking, because I talked a lot. I talk a lot. I love talking. And so what I heard Malin, or what I felt Malin was saying to me this morning was, don't talk. But she wasn't saying that. She was saying, don't say stupid things, which is like good advice. But my ability to process something like that this morning came through sitting with a counselor. And so one of the things that we're doing at the marriage conference, in case you are still on the fence of coming, is we're bringing in counselors. We have 4 counselors that are going to give of their time, Christian counselors, Spirit-filled counselors, and we're giving free counseling, 1 session to couples that want it, 45 minutes. It's an introduction to counseling. This is what a session could look like. We're not looking to open up, all the deep pain that you're experiencing. But so you go home early and hate us. But we really think it's important for couples just to stop and face each other. And that's what counseling does, is it gets you to look at each other. And now I love looking at her. Yeah, that's sweet.
I haven't gone much. My wife would like me to go more. Yeah, I agree. But what I do know is when I've talked to the church about some of the stuff that came out and dealing and anger and chaos and what, it set people free in the church to go and get some counseling. Yeah. And don't come to me, but get real counseling. And it set some of the couples free that, if they can get help, we can get help. And I agree, we're not counselors. I don't want to be a counselor. The Holy Spirit's a good counselor, but there are trained counselors.
I think to add on to that, I agree. Like, we don't always need to hold the weight of everyone's stuff, right? And if there's people that can help them properly deal and walk through that, That's so beautiful, because we can sometimes get so pastoral because we love them so much, but also give the wrong answer and maybe push them in the wrong direction. But sometimes we don't know the answer. We don't know actually how to help them walk through. And so if you have a list of counselors that you think that are spirit filled and that you trust, and that for us is people that we trust, that we can be like, hey, you know what, you need to like dive deeper into this outside of us.
One suggestion I do have for the pastors in this room is talk to your financial team about setting up a benevolence fund where people in your church could access some finances to go to professional counseling. I think one of the great mistakes we can make is sending people to like subsidized or like free counseling services. In my experience, free counselors are usually not able to charge $150 an hour because maybe they don't have the training or expertise. And so I send our church people to expensive counselors, and we oftentimes as a church will help pay for that, because it just actually makes my job way easier knowing that our church is being cared for well in that way. And so I would recommend, if you don't have that set up in your church, also talk to your financial team about maybe adding counseling to your extended benefits. And so that's one of the first things. That's actually the first thing we did when I took over. Is I went and sat with our team and I said, hey, we got great dental and everything else, but I need counseling added to that because I want all of our staff to have that ability. So just some practical advice.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so grateful that you went that direction, because I actually did want to touch briefly here on some of the few minutes that we have left, is what financial integrity and stewardship looks like within the church. And so even having an amazing recommendation like that often kind of drives into how our systems look. And I love what, I believe it was, I'm getting confused with all the sessions as well, right? But I think it was Pastor Claude that said, was it God, glory, and I'm going to say guys or girls? The gold. There we go. Gold, glory, and girls, or guys, depending on who you are. And so, but the gold, right? The gold can really trip some people up. And so having integrity in your finances as well is super important within the churches. And I feel like sometimes, and I say this as an administrator who oversees finances, I'm so grateful for my job, and that we have a focus on making sure that that's run well within our church and our school that we're also a part of here, or that's part of us. But sometimes it can feel like the finances can kind of, it's not frontline ministry, and so we kind of patch it, right? We kind of, whatever we have left over, we're going to use to fill that need. And so I was wondering, maybe Len and Lori, you could share a little bit about some of the systems you've had in place in your 20 years of leading a church, systems in place that you can ensure some, not only transparency, but accountability within the church finances.
Well, one thing we always have said, poor administration is like poor preaching. It keeps people from getting saved. It keeps people out of the kingdom. And you need both. You need soundness in how things are done. And I've already answered this to you before, but we had Russell, and he came from South Africa with us when we transferred here to, you got to hear about Russell. Y'all want Russell. But what it means is you have good people who know the laws, who know systems, finance. We don't have to know it. We don't have to be a marriage counselor. We don't have to be an accountant. We don't have, but you have to have good people, and then you have to trust them and rely on them to do what they're good at, and then listen to them when they're telling you. And it is that whole transparency and openness, and we put the giving and the expenses and the whole thing on the walls of the church. We did that for a while, but it was so boring, we took it all down. They can get it from Canada Revenue anyhow. But just that the people know that there's integrity and there's openness around finances. And so my suggestion to anybody is just have a really good executive pastor, accountant, whatever you call them, and you are free from the finances. We can still make decisions. We can spend the whole budget of the church tomorrow if we want, but you have good people. Yeah. That would be my advice.
Yeah, and you had mentioned even in our conversation just having those layers of separation, right? Where, one person collects the offering, and one person counts it, and one person does the deposit, and you have these different people, right? Because that, it's, you know, you talk to maybe your administrator, and you're like, oh, but I trust them with my life. And that's great, but we also have to be mindful that there's other people that we can be under scrutiny from, and we want to make sure that we have systems in place that have that. And so you build those out within your churches. And I do have to say, we were chatting just before we came up on the panel, and I was saying, hey, we got to talk about finances, and we got to talk, oh yeah, Russell keeps us out of jail, right? That's kind of a joke that we say, and then Barry's like, is Russell like ChatGPT? Like, is Russell like a the way that we're talking about him? Russell is a person, by the way, who's from Enjoy Life Church, but I'm actually just going to shout out Russell real quick here, because he is an amazing resource for our church, and so I oversee the day-to-day finances. That's my responsibility here, but even I need somebody that I can go to, and I have my executive pastor Herman here within the church that I can talk day-to-day decisions about, but I also then have Russell that I can go to and say, hey, is this okay or is this not? And so he's really my security blanket to just make sure I'm doing everything right. But then also, because having that layer is so important, I know Pastor Brian created within our church something that we call our stewardship team. And so they are a separate team from our eldership team. The elders often sit in on that meeting, but they are submitted to and accountable to the eldership. But they go over the budgets and the finances and the decisions, so that there's a dedicated group of people that are just responsible for that. And then when decisions need to be made, they can go a little higher up. Please do.
It sounds like kind of a control thing, or a negative almost, but a good Russell also is the one who says, you know, your salary sucks. You need to review these things. I'm talking about a good eldership team, whatever. But often when we plant a church, when we planted our church, it's 16 years ago, you tend to be, we don't need RSPs. We don't need medical. It's the kingdom of God. And you need good people that will say, that's fine, but an RSP is a good thing. Yeah. And, you know, a health benefit is a good thing. Yeah. And you need people, so good financial accountability type people speak to those things as well. They are generous. They are givers. They are part of who you are. And they're the ones being honest. And if you're going into the other ditch, they can speak to that too.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that. I'm going to throw out one final question here as we wrap up our panel. This isn't actually a question that any of you know beforehand, but I know, just throwing you on the spot here. But a question that I really felt prompted to ask, just as we've been talking about these different areas and really even what we've been able to share here. How has MFI helped you navigate ministry as a whole? Because I feel like some of our connections are, like, I met Russell through MFI and through connections that I made here. And so I'd love to hear just from a few of you or all of you briefly about how MFI has helped strengthen what you've done in ministry.
We've always had a good eldership team, and it's been through seasons. We had some guys step off, and a church in Abbotsford stole one couple from us, and you know, here's a few things. But what we found, one of the strengths for MFI is, for example, Frank and Dave are apostolic elders of our church and trustees of our church at this time, for about a year or two now. And so that is a huge benefit, that we have friends, but also people who we can go to, people who we can, like, it's all good when everything's good, but when you're dealing with challenges, you definitely want to have good people and people you can talk to who are further down the road. And yeah, and so that's one of the benefits for us, MFI, plus a few of these thugs out here that are good for us. But yeah.
Yeah, I just think the connection, I mean, I'm always very social. I love connecting, and I really don't want to be island by ourselves with our little church in Edmonton, doing our thing, trying to hear from God. And so you come together in the fellowship of other leaders and you just learn from each other. You rub shoulders. You realize, oh, they got a sucky situation as well. Okay, it's not just us. It's part of life. It's something, you know, we can rub shoulders with in ministry and really encourage each other. So I just think the huge room full of people that you can gain encouragement from, and you then encourage them in some way, is just invaluable, because we did have a great network in South Africa, but we all also said we need proximity. We have all those friends over there, but they're not helping us. Like, what do we do in Canada with this situation, with this thing? They don't know what we're doing here from 10,000 miles away. So proximity is a huge thing. And then permission. You have to give people permission to speak into your life, to say, what am I not seeing? What is my blind spot? I'm not seeing it because it's a blind spot. So there's just that fellowship, the communion together with the other believers that is just so mutually building up that I wouldn't want to do ministry without it. So we had to intentionally find who are we going to connect with in Canada now that we're back? Who will be our tribe, our people? And it was just great through Dave. He pursued that relationship with us and contacted us and drew us in. And yeah, here we are, and we love what we're a part of.
I would say the connections built here, totally, like you said, remind you that, yeah, we're all going through the same thing. And I would even say it gives, even in, because we have a bit of a bigger staff, even in the different way you get to interact with your own, like with each other, you build camaraderie. And this time we're staying for a few extra days just to pray together, and just that stepping outside of the church, again, stepping outside of business and the busyness of ministry, just kind of makes you relate and makes you have different conversations, makes you have fun, eat together. And so the relationships built within MFI and even the strengthening of your team is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're all saying the same thing here. We're all appreciating the relationships, and I think I would agree with that too personally. Like, maybe I don't know how much I appreciate MFI until I'm at something like this. You know, like last night I walked in, I see Travis and Amy, and you just see different people: Daniel, Chris, Joe. You know, you see different people, and I'm really grateful for the relationships that are fostered through MFI, and I think certainly it's really, really easy to just get fixated on the day-to-day of your own 8:30 to 4:30, 9 to 5, whatever it is in your own church. And maybe for me, I'd be guilty of not even fostering some of those relationships within the city of Chilliwack, but then to be able to come here and see people that, man, I know that these people are in it with me, similar values, similar situations, and I just don't think the value of relationship through MFI can be overstated.
I agree. Back to counseling. I'm very passionate about it. No, one of my most impactful sessions was on values, and he got us to talk about like what we value in relationship and in people, and we started listing those, and that's like the first thing that came to my mind, is knowing that we serve in churches across Canada that share similar value. And so we can, knowing, like when our son wanted to go to Bible school or do something like that, right away, like he was looking at a bunch of different options, and as soon as like Viva came up, I was like, oh, like that trust and that knowing we have shared values, and knowing that we could trust Pastor Frank and Chris to have him at their church and know that he would be built up and trained well and cared for. And I think sometimes that caring piece is missing, and I think that's the beauty of MFI, is the care for one another and the shared values.
Yeah, I would say, same thing. Ditto to all of it. Relationships. For me, it's having the father figures in the faith. That has been, for me, the most valuable. I'm not young, but I'm not old. I'm in that 44-year-old. Fine. I'm like a what? Oh, I thought you were insulting me. And yeah, so for me, I just think back to this last year. The first phone call that I made after immediate family, when mom had passed away, was actually to Pastor Frank. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. And his response was, do you want me to come right now? And I mean, it's a 5.5-hour flight. And I know that he wouldn't have hesitated. And I said, well, I don't know. And he hopped on a plane, as many of you did, to come to be with us as a church, to be at our service. But even since then and before then, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I like to think I'm the only one that gets text messages from Pastor Frank because it makes me feel special, but I'm sure every one of you does. Just don't tell me, okay? Get out of here. But knowing that I have somebody like Pastor Frank who's in my corner cheering us on, like Malin said, we feel so safe that our son is hanging out with them for the year and he's coming home in a month and no, they can't have him. It has been super, super helpful. And it's, for me, probably the most important thing about MFI. The other thing I will say is this. Jackie, you are an incredible leader. We have watched you over the years grow into who you are today on stage. You have handled yourself very well. You were very nervous to lead this panel. I think you probably could have done this whole session by yourself and not needed us to say anything. But the way that you serve with such humility and grace, the way that you honor your pastor, the love that you have for the house of God, you're unbelievable. Well done. We are blessed to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love to close things out with tears in my eyes. No, hey, can you give it up for this amazing panel? Thank you so much.